Good evening, Namaste. So I welcome you all to the part 2 of our last Sunday topic, that is the science of reincarnation. We have the same speaker, Dr. Ajai Rai, who has given us a brief introduction of the topic and certain examples so that the topic gets interested and interesting. And today we will be having more of slides, a presentation prepared by him, wherein he will explain the slides. And I have been assigned the task of sharing the slides while he is speaking. So before we get into the presentation and the talk, let us do the universal invocation and couple of seconds silence after that. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Come back. So over to you, sir. You may continue talk, and whenever you think I should be presenting the slide, just dictate me. I'll do the needful.
Thank you, sister. Thank you very much. My dear friends, the fellow travelers who are on the verge of spiritual upliftment, spiritual evolution on the evolutionary path, good evening to one and all. Friend, we are at the door of Navaratri. Within 2 days, Navaratri would start. So I wish you a very happy Navaratri too. Navaratri means now is a new. New Ratri means new dawn coming down. New dawn in all the field. Navadurga represent the totality of development on all the 7 layers of consciousness, rather than the 2 divine layer, all the 9 layer of consciousness, making you fit for the further evolutionary journey. I once again wish everyone a very good evening and a very happy Navaratri, which is yet to come. Is to come in 2 days' time. Friend, last Sunday, we had discussed the topic, rather as my sister pointed out. It was cosmogenesis. How a small spirit, monad, how the Shiva Tattva, how a Big Bang theory got converted into a light, and how that light got converted into a sound and light, a tremendous amount of heat, the size of that is 10 to the minus 28 centimeter, and the heat of almost 10 to the 30 degrees centigrade, that is spark, which came as a Shiva Tattva or during a Big Bang theory, which was given by the Fred Heal, and Fred Heal has got a Nobel Prize. How that light energy and the sound energy got converted into a particle, that has been explained, and I also explained about the Einstein and the Bose theory, Higgs and Bose theory, and how in 2013, Higgs was from a recluse at the age of 84, was again awarded Nobel Prize for the great contribution done by the paper done by the Higgs and boson. This time I shall go with that as a background on the that is anthropomorphogenic aspect of the evolution. Anthropomorphogenic, morpho means the structural. How does a structure is constituted, especially in the anthropomorph, that is in the form of life or in the form of human being. That part will be discussed into it. It's a big chapter. It's a big point to be discussed upon. Hence, I shall be concentrating only to the certain point how that has got converted into. You very well know how the monad get into elemental part and how elemental part has a thread, golden thread on which the elemental or atomic, that is permanent atom, get attached. How then the auric egg get attacked and auric get attached, get converted into a physical body by the five, that is Akash, all the five tattva, and how this the material world is found, how this material world get converted into a plant world, and plant world get converted into animal world, animal world get converted into human world, and it is not the end. We are in the fourth race, and we shall be going back. We shall be going further till we reach the hierarchy and reach to the Devanchal, and we again become the ruler. We again become we get the assignment of the highest order for to guide the evolutionary path of the coming monads. How this has occurred, how this has gone, is the part of the discussion, and I shall be giving you certain slide, especially when we will discussing the um, development of a human being or development of an animal into a detail. And my sister will be showing you. Now, what actually happened is, I shall start with what actually happened is that body constitute two parts. The two, that is a structure human being or whatever life constitute two parts. One is the body, which is a perishable one, which is made of the element combined with a certain force, and it is only visible or active till the consciousness flow into it. If the consciousness get out of it, it degenerate and get back. So consciousness is the bonding force. That is how the Shiva and the Shakti get combined for the evolution. Now, this soul, when we talk about soul, soul is imperishable, immutable, unchangeable. It is not affected by either troposphere or by the ionosphere or by the lithosphere. Let us say in the simpler word, it is neither affected by the air nor by the water atmosphere or nor by the any other element. It is an immutable. It does not have any change. It does not have any birth, or it does not get distorted. It does not get polluted. It is the purest thing. So that is what we say. It is the truth of the life. It is an element of the Paramatma. So what actually happened, the theosophy says, or you get into a literature of the Tibetan later, bottom of death. Bottom of death said, as soon as the body consciousness get out of it, the consciousness leaves, that the soul leaves to it, the body start then degenerating and the body start moving toward. The Bado says in the 1 to the 4 days in the Tibetan literature, it reaches to a state where where there is a love, full of love. There is a brilliant light. What we talk is the hidden light, hidden love. What is there? There is there is hidden vibration. So that hidden vibration cannot be perceived or can be experienced in this physical body as soon as the soul goes into front of it. It is encircled by the love. But as soon as it reaches to the purest God we call as the Father, the light of the Father gives you a panorama view of what you have done. And this panorama view make you shine. And make you sigh, because God is there to grasp you, to put it in his heart. But you are impure, and you get this, that if I go join the God, if I join the Paramatma, the ultimate soul, I shall be polluting, I shall be disturbing the natural balance. So what they do is, they start begging him, sir, give me another chance of a birth, so that the karma, raga, dvesh, what we have inculcated, the karmic coefficient can be dissipated upon. With my karma, I develop such an entropy, such an energy that I be able to live around you and have a bliss, an eternal bliss which never ends. So just give me a sign. I, for my shyness, asked for a birth. ask for a period that give me 60 years of time, 50 years or 80 years of time back to the earth, so that all my karmic debts get dissipated, get dissolved, and I become free of all my karmic bonds and be able to stay with you in your Devansha. That is a Bodo. What does the Theosophy say? Theosophy speaks almost on the same line. First thing, they goes to the Kamaloka. Kamaloka, they again have a paranama view, and then there is a stage of cause and effect. Newton's third law plays there. Whatever you have done, you release it. But there is no body. How do you feel the pain? It is just like in a dream when you have a fearful dream, when you have a disturbing dream and you get distressed in your sleep. You get awakened and you start shaking and doing all those things. You are in the constant stage of a distress, although in the sleep. Similarly, in that stage of illumination, in that stage, because the Atma, the soul is made up of broadly three types. It is either an illumination or an ether or a marrow or an air is there. So it is the mixture of these three, which is not perceivable by the normal eye. It is a form of a energy, it is a form of a consciousness, a soul realizes it. And then they go to a calm rupa state. Thereby, all the activities, whatever the intelligent have, whatever the sense organ has, whatever they have acquired during those periods, get dissolved into it. And it gets into a gestation period. And that gestation period is a period where you get prepared for a Devancha. The auric egg with all your karmas stays at the gate, and you migrate for an eternal bliss to a God where there is no pain. When you are with a God, there is only love, love, love. Satchitananda Sarupa. You are in this stage of total bliss and you stay with this. But then in your inner mind, you desire for again that you should be living for a more period. Your state depends upon your karma, what you have acquired in your past creation, for your past life. So what actually happened? The first thing happened is a tanha. Tanha is a desire for the life again. Why you have a tanha desire for the life? Because you want to have a larger stay in this blissful, there where there is no plane with a God. And so in that tanha state, you come back. And you come back, and then there is a Trishna. And Trishna, then there is when you have it, Trishna, that is a thirst for that. Then you, whatever the karmic coefficient are there, Atma get back to the auric bodies. Auric bodies, yeah, that is what we call is, in a biological term, it is just like a stem cells, which I shall be explaining you when we talk, I would like to correlate this theosophical idea with the scientific idea on that stage. And then after the Krishna, with an upadhis, and that is all those upadhi, sthula upadhi, sukshma upadhi, karuna upadhi, you get down either to the physical level, to the astral level, or to the causal level of the system, and you take a birth, as has been explained so many times in the philosophical literature. How do you take the birth of it? So, friend, this is how the things happen when you are, when the body part. And what is the reason behind? The soul, when I say the soul neither get old nor get tired, nor it can be muted body, it cannot be immutable, imperishable body. How then, why does? The body, because of our intoxications, because of our karmic, because of our maya, because of the desire what we have put in, because of the ill things which we have done it, we had, or by the pollution and so many factors, has started that physical which has a limited period, started getting their efficiency getting less, and so it has to be converted into. So the soul, that is activity stage, needs, as in a pralaya, a stage of a sleep. You can call that it is a time of a rest, time of a rejuvenation, time of a rethinking, time of a refreshment. Rethinking would be a better rethinking. How would I be getting rid of my karmic coefficient, which I have gathered more in the negative form, and get free of all karmic bondage, that is the rag and page, and get free of it. Only radiate love, only radiate compassion. The radiation of love and compassion would ultimately lead to you the stage of bliss. Friend, so this is the reason how theosophically a body has to leave behind. But the question is, does the science believe into it? The question arises, how do you, have you seen that? The question arises, is it only Bada Blavatsky say and we should accept to it? No, we have in our system, and in our system we can, myself and yourself and everyone has a power to get themselves elevated by their kundalinias, by their things, by through the meditation, and can have a control on the astral body, can have a control of the causal and the mental body. People, the saints are there. How could an Aryabhat, I have always been thinking about it, how could an Aryabhat, when there was no telescope, when the world was in the dark, where the science was not much developed, could predict so much of things which is coming true right now about the astronomy, about the celestial world? How could they know about it? It is through the meditation power. And I told you in the last lecture as well, that I shall not be out of place to mention the three great scientists who has been awarded Nobel Prize. The alien were there. I have given you. And what they did, they talked about the universe. They talked about that, how the thing can be reached. Yeah, it is heard that even the NASA has reported that the sound coming out during the that is during the um, nuclear fission and fusion, which is continuously occurring in the million of tons in the core of a sun. That sound, which after the reaction come out, is very close to the Oma. What even the Hanuman Chalisa says, that the distance measured by the Hanumanji or in Hanuman Chalisa, the distance as reported is equal, is what the scientists has come to know by the measurement of the light and by the measure of the latest instrument, that the distance through the halosphere from the earth to sun is this much. How would they be able to know it when there was, it was all your mental power. It is what the latest Nobel Prize of the 2022 of the quantum physics has spoken about. I have given a bit detail. I will not get again back to that. So that part, the part that this is how the things happen, has been very well discussed. Now the question is, why should I believe to it? Then there has been certain observations made. And that observation, again, can be hallucination, or it can be psychoanalytical revelation. For instance, I will not be out of place to mention one of the great scientists called as Raymond Moody. Raymond Moody has given a book called as Life After Death. And that book reveals about NDE, that a near-death experience. He has collected large number of people who were clinically declared dead. How they were clinically? Their beats were off, the ECG, electrocardiogram taken, where the systolic and diastolic is where the straight line. EEG, electroencephalogram, also showed a straight line. There was no, the upper part of cerebellum, there was nothing as a stimulus going on. And when they observed the pupil, it was also down, and they started putting more. As the doctor tries it, they were very, very desperate that the man is dead. But to a miracle, those people came back to the life. Now, the science doesn't believe, science says that the cerebral upper part of the cerebral hemisphere, the upper cell, might be not functioning, but that cell is not the only cell. In the core of there is 100 billions of cells inside it were active, and they triggered inside, and they could revive them, rejuvenated those cells, which were showing that EEG was showing electroencephalogramic uh, data were showing that it was a death to a life. So what actually happened when they were asked what you saw? They said that they went to a life. As Bordeaux said that they went to most of them, they went to a dark channel. Then there was a light, and the light, there was a God. And then there was no pain inside. Whatever pain was, when the soul departed it, all the pain which was feeling during the ailment or during when the patient was in the agony, all vanished. So the soul doesn't carry any pain, whatever pain was there. And how did he came back? He said that, most of them said that he is not the right person. He is there. He wanted to stay with them. They sent it back. Similar thing has also happened that was a very interesting case of Dr. Bella. He was a French. Dr. Bella had a patient, and this patient, in fact, was having a surgery, and people said that he died. And they were all desperate, and people started telling him that he has died, and he was observing from a height that he is not dead, and he was shouting that I am not dead, but there was nobody to hear it. That is, the sound of a soul cannot be perceived by our own ear or the people standing around. But to a God grace, he came back, and then he narrated that he could see people sleeping, he could see his body lying on the operation table, and he could, from the height of this, he was observing it, and he was saying, no, no, I am there, you don't do that, that doctor is that, and he could reveal all the past. So Dr. Bella also revealed it. Raymond Moody also revealed it. And so was in the case of Michael Chauvin. He also had an experience, and he was having experience of OBC, out of body. That is when the soul reaches out of body, how does it feel? As I said, Dr. Bella has observed. So such observation only reveal the people who were not believer in the God, the people who had a different faith, let us say the Christian who do not say believe the incarnation, became mum. When he narrated to the people, the Pope, or whenever their friends or they came, he said that he would be ridiculed upon it. So he kept silent to it. But he himself, who was a firm believer of non-incarnation, was thinking on the different life and became mem. And the life, as was reported in the case of Becker, life of that person changed. So the simple observation also support that there is a different level of consciousness. Maybe the highest level of the consciousness is the consciousness of God, where only bliss, where only love exists. And that is what the hidden love, what you have said. Oh, hidden love, embracing all adverseness. They do not have any desperation. Oh, hidden light, shining in every creature. Because God is not discriminating. Soul is not bad. Soul is immutable. So this part brings about this basic concept, which I would like now to explain through this slide. Sister, can I have the first slide, madam?
I'm just sharing my screen, huh?
Yeah. So by the time I can also talk about something more. Till now the question arises, how does it come back? How does it come back to the life? It is just by the help of Buddha says, It is just how do we get into, and this is what I'm going to explain through the help of the slide. It can be slightly enlarged, it would be better off. Okay, that Buddha said is a skanda. Previously, science believed, which I'm going to explain it through these
Is it
diagrams.
visible, sir? Is the screen visible?
I think if yes, I can myself enlarge it. Thank you very much. Uh, I would just explain you the first chapter is the cosmogenesis, how the cosmogenesis occurred. It's a simple experiment. Most of you who have gone with the science is they taught in the class 10th, 11th, a Miller's experiment. Miller says how light or sound and how inorganic material, what we call light, sodium, potassium, or a nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, what the gases around, how can they form a life, is that Miller experiment which I am going to show here. So what actually happened was, I wanted to complete one sentence before getting to this figure, that previously it was thought that chemistry, it is all biochemical reaction. Acetylcholine is in your cell. Adrenaline make you happy. Acetylcholine make you. Oxytocin, very much talk about, which is in the mother, develops the affection for the mother into a child. Similarly, epinephrine is there, or serotonin, pineal gland produces that serotonin is responsible for. And those are all the chemical. Simple thing, if you take an opium, you take an LSD, you are in a depressed, most of the people get into a sleep or get into a hallucination, get away from the distress we have. Sometimes it's the other way around. You take it, they get more into distress, but they change their mental condition and something happens in them. So actually, what science was believing that it was all the chemical which is secreted from the brain is responsible for not only maintaining a homeostatism, that is internal equilibrium. Equilibrium is also maintained between you and the environment. Similarly, equilibrium is also maintained within your system. As I told you that acidosis occurs. Acidosis, your blood pH is 7.1. You take large number of acidic food in a dinner, and if the pH, if goes to 7.3, you died of acidosis. But in your system, there is a balance. Whatever you take, there is a system which regulates it and bring back your blood sugar, blood pressure to that level. Similarly, as a sodium alkalosis also occurs if it comes to the 6.9 degree. A small change in the pH causes a tremendous loss in you. So that what is that? They thought that it is all a chemical. But now science says not it is chemical, it is all the vibration, which Buddha has said once. Buddha has called it a skanda. The different type of the vibration is responsible for different type of origin and development of the organs. For instance, Rupa Spanda is responsible for the physical growth in people. This how does it happen? I shall explain you. Spearman, not now, 1924 has got Nobel Prize when he spoke about that how any stimulus, how any catalyst, how a cell is just, they themselves do not participate, that they influence, that become as an inducer to one cell to develop a variety, because we have a blood cell, nerve cell, this cell, and it all starts from a one cell. So what that any physical formation, Buddha says, is because of Rupa Skanda. And then if you have any elemental, that is, if you have a sensation, if you have a nervous system developed, so that nervous system comes to a Vedana vibration, Skanda. And similarly, if you have a perception of the sense organ, that is motor and sensory nerve, that comes by the Sangyan. Sanskartam, that is, now the question is, sanskar is there in your brain and it do comes through a certain form of energy. I have tried to explain it earlier in my first lecture, that if my child is born, it reflects some of my character. You can see the way he talks, the way he moves. Oh, he looks like, his moves like, his speeches, his dialogues are very close to me. Is Ajay son. But somebody of the family says, oh, he more resembles than the grandfather, what you have seen. He is more inclined to. That is, my germinal cell do contains the ancestral spandas. And that ancestral spanda is transmitted to my son or to my grandson after 5 generations, and it is there. So how does it come? Where does it stand? Science is slightly, but it is there. I have tried to explain, I shall explain in the 9th diagram, how when the twins are formed, why different twins are there, and why do they have a different character. And the last is Vigyan. That is a facility of wisdom. How much wisdom you get is again comes by the vibration, and it is all explained in our literature, even explained by the Buddha. So it is not merely a chemical which is responsible for the that is morphogenesis, anthropomorphogenic structure. It is this vibration produced, and vibration what you receive. If I'm interested, if my radio is tuned for a Binaka Geet Mala, so if I tune to that, only Binaka Geet Mala vibration will come. So what I have desired from the God, that I should be dissipating my karmas, and I have tuned it for a Binaka Geet Mala, that vibration, the what soul will come to me is the vibration compatible to what I designed in my system. So instead of a chemical, now a biochemical transmission, it is now all the vibration which come. Now, this Miller experiment coming out of the first slide, that is the Miller experiment. The Miller says, if you just watch it out, that there are two things. There are one there is called, here is a methane or ordinary gas, and there is an ammonia is passed through this pipe, and through this pipe it is attached with the boiling water. And when this boiling water or this ammonia is went to, I'm putting only my finger to explain it. When it comes to a spark, the electrical spark, ammonia as well as water and this, they combine to form an amino acid, the first DNA molecule. And this is how using this technique, we salute to one of our biologists, Khurana Sahab, who was able to produce first lab virus DNA molecule. So that is, life can be generated from, and that is how a cosmogenesis occurs. That is how the light and heat has affected to not only form a particle to a quartz, and quartz then develop into the hand-in or boson molecule. Fermions develop into boson molecules, and that is how proton and neutrons are formed, and electrons are formed. These are the basic atomic structure. So how Miller has shown by a simple experiment, and this has been performed, can be easily performed in the law. And the first, the amino acid produced was aniline, and aniline was simply differentiated apart from that. So how does, in the cosmic region, how does it occur? They say that when Earth was formed, it was too hot like a sun. And then the first is the hydrogen form, and the other element start forming. They combine to form water, and it started raining for billions of millions of years. As soon as it reaches the surface, it evaporate again, the cloud form, and this is how the Earth got built, and lithospheres developed into it. Very well explained, even when you talk about the global development, when you talk about the races. I shall come to it. The first race, what they developed is, Madam says, the race one was the ethereal race. How do they produce? They did not have any brain. Then how they react? What is the difference between a life? What biologists call a life is the one who can have a sensation. If I provide a chemical or electrical or a thermal sensation, it responds to it. The one who can do production, that is one who can produce energy, can use energy. can produce ATP and can consume ATP. The one who can replicate, who can reproduce like themselves is maybe virus. COVID virus is alive because it is able to replicate in the form. It is sensitive to certain, so you go for a soponification, you go for the mass, it is sensitive to. So the life has these characters. So these characters, what we say in the theosophy, we say each and every matter has a life. We do agree. I agree because electron is moving. When you talk about sodium, hydrogen, potassium, everything has. Hydrogen has a 1 electron, 1 proton. Helium has a 2 electron, 2 hydrogen combined to form this. So here this says in this diagram, how this nature methane, which is a basic component for your structural formation, and how this nitrogen by which the plant come, ammonia, they combine together with a spark and a hot water into a life replicating material, and that life replicating material is called as an amino acid. So this diagram is in the support of what I have told yesterday, that is how cosmogenesis occurs, how the thing from the light and sound can even be proved in the lab. Now, similarly, what the science says, science doesn't believe to it. So science says in Geneva, they went for a laboratory and they formed a CERN where the intention was to form a universe. And what they did is by putting a large hadron collider, they were able to produce quarks and they were able to produce protons. They were able to produce fermions and bosons. And that is how, that is based on what our scientist, that is Satyam Bose, has spoken about. So this is first part, how the thing actually happens. So I just wanted to explain the first thing, what we have done yesterday, how cosmogenesis occurs, and how can by the CERN, that slide I do not have it, and it needs a moving slide. So I have only put a very small diagram, a Miller's experiment, how they can be converted into that what the science calls as a material, an elements into a living material. May I have the second slide, madam? So in this way, madam, we can have a second slide. Yes. Now the question is, we were talking about, this is a very interesting question, and this would the one who has a slightly knowledge of biology would able to appreciate it. This is a very enlarged diagram. This is electron microphotographic explanation of a sperm and ova. The black part which is there is a part of a sperm, and beyond down is a ova. A small portion, very enlarged, very enlarged. It is enlarged to say 1,000, not only 1,000, lakhs times multiplied into a lakh time. Now, what actually happened? How does the fertilizer not? Now, the question is, as the question is started with, what is my son? My son is a fusion of my and my wife germinal cell. My cell is called as a sperm, and my wife's cell is called as an ova. The sperm and ova combine, and the ova, which I shall explain to you, is there in the menstrual cycle. It develops every 28, and it is governed by this moon. It is governed, 28 is a moon cycle. So it is affected by a lunar cycle. And then by the help of estrogen and progesterone, one cell matures enough. How much is, and as soon as it gets fertilized, imagine it, if it is not fertilized, another cycle starts. It is not, it is a continuous process till menstrual cycle is there. Once the menstrual cycle is stopped, nothing will occur. But imagine it, even once the sperm fertilizes, one at a time, only one ova is produced. But at a time, millions of sperm, one drop of semen of a male contains thousands and thousands of sperm, a very microscopic size. All of them rushes to the fallopian tube to fertilize it. Now the question is, which one fertilizes? Science do not know, but animals, certain baboons. If the baboons, if the male has two types of sperm broadly, one is X sperm, other is a Y sperm. Female has only X sperm. If the Y sperm fertilizes with the X sperm of the female, male child will be born. So do not curse women that she is not producing a male child. It is all the creation, whether it's the male or the daughter or the son child is formed, is all the male sperm which is responsible to it. Female has only one type, X type of sperm. The male has. Now the baboon is a unique animal. If then in their population, the female population is less, they give certain food so that the Y sperm, that is Y sperm, become more active, and they are very sure that the progeny born will be a male one, because for their existence, for their in the society, male is needed to be. Human do not have it, but we are very proud that we have a better side. We are the ruler of it. Hundred of animals are much, much ahead in one or the other character to you. If you want to live with the harmony, we must learn from the ant, we must learn from the beast. And if we learn from the ant or beast, the world become a beautiful place to live in. Well, leaving aside, that is a different topic. And now I do not know, I do not have a pointer, but I trying to explain it, the first one. The first one, the label is the sperm getting close to the first corner one, the sperm getting close to the ova epithelial cell, ova, that is called as the oval membrane. And once it reaches there, you see the two pore like structure comes in, and there is that is called as the acrosome. Acrosome is a nucleus. There is a certain chemical, a vehicle comes out, and certain chemical dissolve it. So this sperm do contain certain chemical at the head, which dissolve oval membrane. They will dissolve the outer membrane of the ova, plasma membrane of the ova. And by dissolving the ova, the sperm get into the oval. The third diagram indicates that the sperm has a two things. One is the head, other is tail. In fact, it should also have a neck in between. And the neck contains mitochondria that produces an energy, a continuous energy, by which it wags its tail and reaches to the. It is not only that. There is a source of attraction. It's a very human. There is a pheromone produced in our system. That is why man are getting attracted towards female and females get attracted toward a male, is nothing else but is the action of a pheromone. Similarly, why should it go? I shall show you the other diagram when we get into it. Why should it go to the upper fallopian tube? Because there is a source of attraction. The sperm, as soon as get discharged into a vagina, that cavity, it reaches into the upper part of the oviduct and then to a fallopian tube, the next diagram, instead of only where the ova attract. So certain amount of, as a pheromones or a chemical is there, attraction is there, which leads to. Now, which of the sperm will get fertilized is the question to be understand later. The fourth diagram, as you see, now the things have reached into a deeper state, and there are certain chemicals coming out. It is the time when it forms an aperture that certain energy do come in. And when we get into the last diagram, that is the formation of a dolly, how the dolly an artificial form is. As I told you, the first race says that there was nothing except a splitting. There was no differentiation, no brain. It was a small ethereal body. How they reproduce? They reproduce by splitting. They reproduce by fission. And that is how what bacteria, the virus, how they produce? They reproduce by splitting. Protozoans are produced. The second strain is by the budding. Race 2 says about the budding. So what actually happened? The same thing get in accumulation, and a cylindrata or a poriferas are formed by the accumulation of these elementary cells. They divide their work. You shall be helping me to produce food. I shall be looking after the protection of the colony. He will be going for the movement. They have a cilia. So there is how the division of labor at the cellular level. Why? Because for the existence, now they start forming. Even a small microorganism, instead of solitary living, they start forming a colony because the survival rate improves. So the second they speak about race two, is that is the hydrodroma, and that is how the budding through their form. The third stage, the race three, they says there now starts egg. That is how the science says. How do they start? First, they start by the splitting in the microorganism in the lower form. Then what actually happens? Then it goes into a budding, as in the case of what you see, corals in that, as you say, in the case of porifera sponges, it happens so. And then third stage, they start giving egg. So what actually happens in the life is the third stage, that animal becomes an oviparous. When we talk about human being, let us say not only animal, even in the mammal case, there are echidna or polypeters. These are the things. These are the mammals. Mammals are one which feeds, which has a hair in them and which has a teeth by which they feed the children. They have a breast there by the teeth there by which they. What echidna? Echidna gives egg. So the first mammal was the one, what they say the third race of the human third race was the eggling. Yes, echidna and wheelback. The third stage, marsupial. Marsupial is the kangaroo. Kangaroo gives a very small, they give an egg and a very small, which cannot survive. For many, many years, they have a pouch and they have a teeth by which they feed. They are able to live into it. They can get out, and at any danger, they get back to the mother's pouch. And third is the eutherian, where eutherian is the one where from the egg laying, from between, they started viviparity, they started producing baby. So these are the diagram what I'm trying to explain over here. I'm restricting to the eutherian one. This fertilization occurs, and this fertilization becomes internal. Now, again, fertilizations are external, internal, as in the case of frog, as in the case of fishes. What actually happens? Female fish lays an egg, and then male fish moves around and leaves the sperm. Now, why should there is a current moving in the water? Why should this species goes to that? There is a source of attraction by which the one same species get attracted and reaches over there. So this is the second cause. Now, at this fourth diagram and fifth and sixth diagram, you will find that it reaches into it, and there is a small aperture through which light comes in. It was very well done when it was done in the lab in the case of dolly. You must have heard about the dolly. That was the artificial cloning started. What third? They said then that there will be a hermaphrodite. The third race is that Madam Esther, what an intelligent lady she was. She talked about a hermaphrodite. Androgynous one. Androgynous means the the male character, the female and male both are formed. Both are in the one system. But they have a cross fertilization. Male character will develop first and female will develop later, so that other sperm get fertilized. Androgynous. There they say third, that one eye develop. Now, similarly, the hearing goes in the second race, and then the taste go, the touch goes, and then smell goes, the taste goes. That is the second. Third stage, I'm restricting my only to the developmental cases. The third case, when it gets into a viviparity, now the viviparity again starts in the different form. Some with the decidua, that is one with as a human body, we have an umbilical cord, a cord attached to the mother. And the other, as in the sheep and other animal, they do not have. What happens? A small pouch encircled with the amnion and chorion gets out of it. Now, similarly, the development now becomes three types. All development, as in the fourth and fifth, only gets succeeded. The karma comes into it by the pore formed by the sperm. And at this stage, the karma scale. That is what? That is because when we were forming, when we'll try to develop a dolly from a udder cell, from the somatic cells to a germinal cell, that is what she is talking about. In the fifth race, when we take into a sixth race, it will be only a male. Male will be able to, we will be able to produce our own child. Female is not needed by our own cell. Well, Rakta Bija was what? Rakta Bija, each and every drop of the rest are totipotent. Similarly, every cell, what we call as a stem cell, are the totipotent. They are, if they are kept into a lab, aminocytic cells are, that is what in the amnions are there. If they are taken out and if it is cultured in the lab, an identical structure like you can be formed. Dolly was what? An identical daughter, like the mother was formed from the mother somatic cell, body cells, not from the germinal cell. But how could, when could it form? When could it karma came? How could he did that? It can only form. They tried for many years. Roslin Institute in the Scotland, they tried for many years, could not succeed till a spark came. A spark came in a fluke, and the spark, as soon as it reaches into a system, it developed. It started developing. So then they says that there is an invisible energy, what we called as a karma, what we called as a consciousness, that is immutable, indivisible, and you do not have any space, do not have needs anything media to travel. It is an energy, it can go, that reaches as per you design and the borders are in that. How would you dissipate it? So you decide your path. You decide that birth is not the God. You pray for that. You give me a chance, another. And then only I can come into. May I have the third slide, madam? Next slide. Yeah, thank you. Now, this is the interesting thing. How do the brain help? How does the brain help into it? There is three types of a development. One is where there is no change. That is how, that is, I can get into time lapses there. I shall just finish it out in 5 minutes because we have to close it with only explaining the diagram. But I can tell you, when you talk about the surah, when you get into a Bible, in fact, try to explain how does the development occur, what are the 7 days, what are the baras and yasas. They talk about the Moses period, Moses period, and how do they work. However, there are 3 types of development. One is called as a metabolic development, where the child is always there imprint. They say that a miniature form is there in the egg. The egg gives out that miniature form, and during course of development, it enlarges, as in the case of bookworm, the first diagram. And when you get into the side of it, they are formed, but that they form a nymph, and the nymph later on develop wings of pad or certain sexual character. So that is called as a hemi-metabolic. And when you come into the center of it, you see the brain. A brain, there is a that is molting hormone, corpora alata, corpora cardiaca. They secrete. You inject into it. That is as in the case of you must have heard about the butterfly or a silkworm. What they happen? Egg develops into a larvae. Larvae develops into a pupae. Pupae go for a cocoon formation, and then the moth comes out of it. So these are all controlled by the brain. So similarly, in the short form, if the brain is there, they produce a certain amount of signal or stimulus which guides into you. So brain is the part. If you are able to control the Ajna Chak or Sahasra, you should be able all to control your metabolism and your system. You can even get out of it. So I have to finish. I think I am running short of the time. Let us go to the next slide. And madam, whenever you feel like, and stop over there and can finish it. Madam, next slide. Thank you. This is what I am talking to. You see, the brain is there. This is in the case of a human being. How does the brain affect the formation of estrogen, progesterone, and how does the cells form above? And how does this unsafe period occur? And how does the body prepare for this? You see in the third, at the right hand side, the extreme corner, it develops all or circulation. And this circulation form for the suitable environment for the implantation. Let us have the next slide. Let me finish it in one or two sentences. Next slide, madam. Yeah, you see that I have taken only the half part of it. This is where, which is called as the uterus cavity is there, and it reaches the fertilization occur at this point, extreme point. Here the egg comes, one egg comes, and the sperm reaches there. And by the time, as the diagram goes, the cell start dividing. At the 2-cell stage, if they get separated, or even at the 4-cell stage, if they get separated, they can form 4 different child. So at this stage, they have a power of regeneration, what that have been lost. One cell develop one baby. But if it is divided into 2, they develop into 2 baby and twins are formed. And if they are 4 babies, at this stage, it reaches here for implantation. And then when you talk about surrogacy, it's unethical. The mother hormone changes and large number of mother characters, that is surrogate character, come into a child. So ethically, there is, even today, there is a question about it. May I have the next slide? I have to finish it, madam. This is how it has been implanted. This is, you see the baby. These are the villi all around it. The baby is implanted and mother tissue is there. Mother tissue is there. Yeah. Mother tissue is there, which is supporting it. This is the umbilical cord is formed. And how does it receive that? Once it is moving inside it, here it becomes a spongy layer, and through which the character, even in the 4-cell state, comes into. Let me have the last diagram to conclude it. In the case of twin, here, in the case of twin, you can see it here. Here it is. There is one placenta. Let us start. This is normal. The extreme side, there is the one baby. This is called as a cryptoblast. Trophoblast is there, by which placenta is formed. If the 2 sperms are there, 2 different childs are formed. Two eggs has been precondition has been formed. In the third cases, the same are there, but have a different cord. They both have a 2 different umbilical cord. In the 4th case, there is a one source of umbilical cord, very identical. Every behavior, talking and everything identical, but still they become different. How and why is because of the spark received by them are different. I think if the time has passed and I should not take it, there must be a question. This is the diagram of the dolly. I just wanted to show you in the center. This center, there is a written that there is a charge. When the charge is given, only then the further development occurs. So thank you very much. I think I have taken much of the time, but is it the topic?
No, that's fine, because a detailed diagrammatic explanation was required, because if you would have just spoken, we couldn't have understood.
Okay. Some other time.
Okay.
You have got to, because it's a science. It's a difficult science. I have to get into a basic first in order so that everybody is not biologist sitting over in this.
Right. So, sir, does it conclude your the entire talk, or you have a part 3 also?
No, leave it. I think some other day I have.
Right. So, is there any question we can take up quickly in 1 or 2 minutes? Otherwise, we'll conclude, because the entire video will be available on YouTube. Anyone wants to reuse
any question, any type of question if you want.
Yeah. Any question pertaining to the subject, kindly speak up or put it in the chat. So in 1 or 2 minutes, we'll discuss that. Otherwise, we will conclude the session with our closing prayer. Is there anyone who's asking a question? No, I don't see any question. So we will upload this video. So whoever has attended but couldn't get some clarity on certain points, could see
You
once more.
can always phone me and ask me. I
Yeah,
can explain.
sure. So let us take a 1 minute silence for absorbing what we learned. I mean, if there is a session, there is some takeaway also. So let us, whatever it has been the takeaway for us, let us silently absorb it. Then I will do the closing prayer. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Thank you for
all.
the patient listening.
Yeah, thank you all also for the joining. And we would continue posting our new topics and speakers details so that we could see you again. Thank you all.
Thank you.